How fast do you have to go to beat a speed camera? Well, I tried it myself by driving as fast as I could down a busy public road full of people. Alright, no, obviously I'm joking around, but I recently got a $160 speeding fine, and it got me thinking. I mean, there is almost nothing else on the road that will humble you quicker than getting flashed. You can go from vibing to some tunes to silently staring into the distance in a split second. So let's talk about it. Speed cameras. They can detect you not wearing a seatbelt. They can detect phone usage, tailgating, overtaking on the wrong lane, illegal U-turns, red lights, and most commonly, speeding. I actually got arrested one time for reenacting Remy Gaillard's famous radar prank. We grabbed a cardboard box, painted it silver, added some buttons, went to a busy road and started flashing cars. It took about 15 minutes for the police to come. They destroyed our box, they made us delete the footage, and we got arrested. Anyways, today we're focusing on the king of fines, speed cameras, and how fast you need to be going to escape the grips of a radar. All right, answering this question has a lot of moving parts. To put it simply, it ain't simple. We're gonna ignore handheld speed guns because they're subject to human error.
He's doing 50 and a 35.
These basically shoot off a continuous burst of infrared light that bounces off the moving car to track its location, and as the cop follows the vehicle, the continuous burst will be able to track how fast the car is driving. The problem is, if the cop isn't properly trained or the radar isn't properly calibrated, then you can get completely wrong results, which is why today we're gonna completely ignore the infamous speed gun. Another well-known camera that we're gonna ignore is the average speed camera. These basically take photos of you in intervals over a long distance to measure your average speed. This can be like 200 meters or even 20 kilometers. The point is to measure how fast you're going on average. So yeah, I mean, in theory, you could be flying over the speed limit as long as you later drive slow enough to balance out your speed overall, right under the speed limit on average. But anyways, I think that one's a little bit boring. I want to get to the good stuff. I want to get to that iconic silver box, that destroyer of bank accounts. You know, the one that gives you that email that just sends you into an instant depression. That's what I want to get to, that little silver box. The way these basically work is that the speed camera actually takes 2 photos that measure your speed over a specified stretch of the road. The first photo is just a reference to track the starting point of your car. The second photo is usually around 1/4 of a second after the first one is taken and will accurately measure how long it took you to cover that distance, thus measuring your speed. All right, so let's say that our camera covers a distance of 20 meters. After the first photo was taken, you'd have 1/4 of a second to cover 20 meters and escape the second camera. That would be around 288 kilometers an hour. Bear in mind, for that zone, this speed would be like double, triple, or even quadruple the speed limit. So for this specific radar, 288 kilometers an hour is all it takes to beat that second camera. And in some countries, that might be all it takes to not get flashed. But bit of a conspiracy theory, this is not confirmed. It's possible that some speed cameras around the world would be able to interpret that suspicious lack of a second photo as, holy shit, this guy is absolutely freaking flying. This would obviously send a signal along with your first photo to the police, and in this case, in a court of law, you'd get absolutely wrecked. Top Gear also tested their speed cameras a while back, and they actually beat the radar at 275 kilometers an hour. I'm not saying they faked it, I'm just saying that people like to enhance a little bit of drama for that TV storytelling, you know what I'm saying? Well, look, if they really did beat the radar, we also have to take into account that this episode was aired about 20 years ago, and you better believe that speed cameras have come a long way since then. All right, so that was a classic photo radar, but let's turn it up a notch. What about a modern video radar? One that doesn't only take 2 photos, but actually records a video of a part of the road. This one's a lot more difficult, but we could talk about frame rates. Most speed cameras record at 30 frames per second. They take 30 photos per second. So if the ground they cover is 20 meters, to even stand a chance at not getting caught, you'd have to travel 20 meters in 1 frame. And if there are 30 frames per second, you need to cover 20 meters in 1/30th of a second, which is 600 meters per second, or 2,160 kilometers an hour. Now that's for a 20-meter range. In Dubai, they have a 70-meter range. So if you gotta cover 70 meters in 1/30th of a second, that converts to 7,560 kilometers an hour. So that's a photo and a video radar. Let's really ramp it up. Let's talk about an ultra-modern, state-of-the-art speed camera that can cover 1 kilometer of ground. How fast would you have to be driving to literally be invisible to every speed camera in the world. You guys want to know how fast you'd have to go? 191 million kilometers an hour. That's 1/6 of the speed of light. So good luck, broski. This is the speed necessary to make the numbers on your plate literally look invisible to a camera. That's according to a study from the University of Leicester's physics department. The study was based off of the Doppler effect. I'll try to explain it as simply as possible.
It's the apparent change in the frequency of a wave caused by relative motion between the source of the wave and the observer.
Basically, when something is traveling towards you, it looks and sounds different than when it's traveling away from you. Think of like an ambulance when it drives by you. You know, you hear it's like yeah, I mean, I did my best. The sirens are like high pitch when it's driving towards you, but then it has like this strange lower pitch when driving away. And even though you hear this change in sound, the ambulance is just making one continuous noise. Basically, think of like the origin of that sound or light like pulsating these kind of waves. And as it drives close to you, you're feeling like a higher concentration of these waves because they're coming at you. But if the object is pulling away from you, then naturally the waves will hit you at a slower rate. Similar to like the ambulance with the sound, it's the same thing with light. When light's coming at you, you'll see it with like a blue hue. And when it's coming away from you, you'll get like a red tint. This is used in space exploration all the time to measure like the distance and direction of different stars and galaxies around the universe. That's why whenever you see like these NASA shots, some stars look red and some stars look blue. It means that some stars are going in that direction and some stars are coming towards us. At the end of the day, it's all about frequencies. And cameras, especially speed cameras, have their fair share of limitations when it comes to frequencies. They're only capable of detecting a certain frequency range. So if you can beat that range, you can become invisible. It would theoretically be possible for the light from a fast-moving car number plate to be shifted out of the frequency range which cameras are able to detect. Look, to properly explain all of this, I'd have to get into like an excruciating level of detail. If you guys are interested, I'll leave a little link in the description below for you guys to check out. We're gonna move on, I'll just leave it at that. But for now, the fastest man-made object ever was the Helios probe, going 1/5000th the speed of light. So we're not even remotely close. Regardless, this is just how fast you'd have to go to literally be invisible to the camera. But bear in mind that it isn't just like an instant flash. Like, the camera still needs to process that you're going fast to send the signal to the camera to actually flash you. So if you were driving on a highway at only half the speed we just mentioned, say like 1/12 the speed of light, then yes, the radar would be physically capable of reading your license plate, but by the time the speed camera's program recognized you were speeding and sent the signal to take a photo, you'd already be in another country. Long story short, you will never beat a speed camera on a highway. I don't know, maybe in like North Korea, but anyone that's using up-to-date technology is gonna get you every single time. As for pedestrian zones, in 2022, I think it is physically possible to beat some of them. Maybe with a little bit of luck, if you have like a Bugatti Chiron and just absolutely ripped it through like, through like a school area or something, then maybe with a bit of luck, you'd be able to get away with it. But yeah, probably a terrible idea. Don't recommend. Drive safe, everyone. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.